Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. Welcome to RCI Mondays, and time for another region locked car choice. Once again, we are visiting the Euromasters for season 3. Tonight, we are bringing you round 1 from Barcelona, 4.65 kilometers in length with 16 turns. I'm your lead commentator for tonight, John Dalton, and alongside me is Callum Kerwin, with Stewie behind the cameras, and of course, as always, our live stewards next door to us. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, John, another season of Monday night streaming for me and you commentating. This time a little bit different, as I'm sure you're going to elaborate on further in a minute. Not a single car championship for us. Obviously, last time out with the Lamborghinis. However, this time a European series. Do you want to give us a bit of a breakdown on what people are allowed to choose and where we're actually going this season?
Yeah, so certainly we have 34 drivers signed in to split one tonight after pre-qualifying was drawn, and some very regular names here tonight, as you might be able to see looking up and down the board on the left. We've got obviously last time we ran Euromasters season 2, Wolf Matuszka took the championship from Jarko Torvinen and Martin Lawrence. Tonight we've got Chris Downing of Volpus Simsport, Benzi Rachinov from the British Masters and Super Trofeo Cup champion, Tom Shipston, our British Masters silver champion, Andy Boardman, regular RCI driver and Asia Masters silver champion, Tudor Budu, the Super Trofeo AM champion, and with some new faces to join us as well, namely Pozniakov, you see on your screen for the Team Barlas Esports. No Barzagi here tonight. Joshua Allen, of course, at the top for the Jean Alesi Esports Academy. Dan Everton, to name many, many more. And of course, as the name suggests, the championship limits drivers to European manufacturers only, with a choice, of course, of GT3 machinery featuring the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, BMW M4 GT3, BMW M6 GT3, the Ferrari 488 Evo, Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2019. Obviously, new one is pending, so maybe we get that mid-season. Some drivers might be able to upgrade. Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, and of course, lastly but not least, the car you see on your screen here, the Porsche 911 2 GT3R, of course, with the 992 pending in the wings, possibly a few mid-season upgrades, maybe for some drivers if the timing is right. But practice coming to an end, and Callum, four different manufacturers, should we say, in the top four. We have a Ferrari, a BMW, a Porsche, and an Audi. So tonight, looking like anybody's game.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting dynamic here now. Obviously, we're so used to saying how many cars we've got within a second, but this practice split, as we're coming to the end of it now, just down the end of the wait time, cars seem to be a little more spread out this series. It's obviously not single make, as we've said, so people having a bit more choice in terms of cars and setup. So we're going to have another dynamic added of certain cars being more suited to certain tracks to look out for. Obviously, with different European circuits we go to, different cars may be stronger at different circuits with their characteristics: front engine, mid engine, rear engine, etc. Things like that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, we're used to the same sort of names at the top of the board as we cut to qualifying about to start.
Yeah, so we've got the same old suspects at the top, as you said, Callum. But with the grid being so vastly spread apart in practice, it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can do once they, of course, get these cars out in their qualifying trim, dump some fuel out, maybe close up the brake ducts a little bit to generate temperature early on in the tires, and of course maybe push those pads 1 to their absolute limit. They can't really take a beating in the heat, but now as the drivers kind of all snake out through obviously turn 3 into 4, Hugo Collot is head of the board in the number 14 Audi R8 LMS Evo 2, and he will be leading the train down towards the line. So big wide circuit, Barcelona, typically quite a long lap, so we're very used to seeing a lot of space tonight. 31 cars have turned up from the 34 that have pre-qualified, so it is really anybody's game to play for. We see a little bit of weaving there from the race esports team to generate some temperature in the Pirellis, and I think I can't even call it tonight, Callum. We normally say we know exactly who's going to stick it where, and tonight it's the field is so spread apart in practice. Nobody's really shining, it seems.
Yeah, we usually have some idea of who's going to be up there at the top. Obviously, we've got some new names, as you mentioned, some of the Jean Alesi guys and some other of the esports guys probably coming in after seeing one of our other available championships of the 6 hour season that's going to be up and running in the next couple of weeks. Pre-qualifying obviously just ended for that, I believe, yesterday night, off the top of
Yep,
my head.
last night. Yep, last night
Um,
midnight.
So obviously that's now cut off. We have 49 teams all locked in and ready for that as we cut to Hugo on the first flying lap in the helmet cam. So coming down to turn one, obviously very, very big, heavy braking zone down from sixth gear, braking on the left-hand side, using as much of the track as possible here and clipping those inside curbs. Obviously, depending on what car you drive, might be able to clip or take more of the curbs. And now we come around turn three, very, very long, very, very just trying to eke the car out slowly out to the exit, not using much of the exit curb there, keeping it quite neat and tidy, and then maximizing the entry width of the track in the braking zone for Repsol of turn four there, just balancing the car as he comes through, and then back bang again into another sweeping hairpin style corner of turn five here at Barcelona. Now using all of that green on the exit there, dropping down the hill into a very, very tricky left-right chicane of 7 and 8. Got to be perfect on the brakes here, not running out too wide there because you will invalidate your lap and you could dip a wheel into the gravel. Fast now right-hander of turn 9. He's going to again use all of the green stuff on the exit and then back down the back straight into turn 10 of Lacaxia. Obviously this redeveloped for the Formula 1 cars, but we are on the old version here in ACC, coming through the little left kink of 11 into 12. Looking at my track map there, and again, really trying to maximize as much of the track as possible. Don't hit the sausage curbs too hard coming through here because you'll bounce the car. And now into the nice slow chicane of 15 and down through the long right-hander of 16, running along that sausage curb there, yellow line, as he comes around the final corner, all of the exit, so up to the line. This will be the first time on the board of a 1:42.817, John. So time for them all to beat.
Yeah, definitely so. Pedro Marquez comes through a second off. Pozniakov 0.4 off, looking like the closest competitor so far. Nico Kumpu just outside as well. And Joshua Allen, driver we saw last time out in Friday's championship, taking it to Dylan Tan, I believe, sets a good time indeed, just behind Collett there, 0.010 between them. And obviously these Pirellis are still getting up to temperature, up to pressure, although it is a very warm evening tonight with 25 degrees in the air, translating to 32 degrees on the track. And as you said, Callum, quite a lot of long sweepers. We've got turn 3 here, really kills that front left. We've then got obviously turn 9 at the top of the hill, that right-hander, very fast sweeping, lots of load in there. And then, of course, turn 12 seems to drag on forever when you're in second gear, just eating around. High speed of 16 before you come onto the straight as well. And Betsy Rachinol puts the car into P3 overall for now. And with a little bit of a toe of an M4 ahead, it's going to help him, of course, in the main straight. The Porsche, we know, lacks in a straight line. Driven a Porsche around here a few times in ACC, and it's great through the corners. It really does stick it to the, the much faster GT3 machinery. Very agile, very good on the switchbacks, kind of stable-ish, shall we say, on the curbs. But once you get onto the straight, it's just where the whole lap dies apart, really, and really do struggle to keep with people ahead of you. So slipstreaming might be a bit of a key here tonight for the Porsches. Even if they're not making many moves, be sure to be looking at who is in the rear view mirror of yourself. May see Rudy Philmalter tucking in behind, trying to gain some extra pace. But we seem to have clumps of manufacturers up and down the field at the moment. 16, 17, 18th, all taken by Porsches. And then a massive clump of BMWs from Pavel Gadja in 21st even now, just slipped down all the way down to 27th. Where we've got our very own Carlos Calatayud in the number 30. Of course, the home circuit that is Circuit de Catalunya, something that we ripped a few times in the Super Trofeo Cup, which was great. And Jordan Daly, another RCI regular, has chosen the Mercedes Evo this time out, a car that I'm driving on Thursdays, and it's a very good car. It's a bit heavy on the old tyres sometimes on the front, but Daly up into 8th. Rudy Philmalter, slight improvement up into 15th. Hubert Hauser then takes 15th, pushing Philmalter down to 16th. And once again, we do have a fairly widespread top 11 covered by a second or so, but the midfield and the lower downs are looking very, very close indeed. So I think we're going to see a few fights kind of towards the mid-pack and bottom end tonight, Callum.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Barcelona, one of those circuits where people don't like it as much due to the F1 era, sort of those cars struggling. But it's a good GT3 race circuit. We're going to have, I think, a good bunch of fights. Obviously, with these guys being so close together, you're going to need a good advantage to make some form of a pass here. So I think we're going to have quite a few clumps of different manufacturers maybe trying to get past, and think who can use the advantage of maybe being faster in a straight line, focus on the exits, or Porsche's maybe generically being a little bit better in the corners, slower in the straights, as you said, so people needing slipstreams. It's going to all come into play, these things, as get into sort of the longer pack racing of an hour long this time. Obviously last time with the Lamborghinis it was 50 minutes. This time we're going for the full hour, as we see Chris Downing again coming up to the line. No improvement, stays 6.5 tenths off the lead, and we cut back to Ed Varson, who's currently sat in 30th. One of the other Beamers, quite a few Beamers this championship as well. It seems quite a popular car. Coming up to the line, let's see what he can do. Puts himself in P8, knocking Chris Downing down into P9. Quite tight in that 5 tenths off battle there. There seems to be quite a few cars, so we'll have to see as we see Stevens come up for the line, 1.7 seconds off the pace there. So he's going to be fighting with people like Les Stevenson and John Eraser, and Withall is 1.2 off. So fairly decent spread of cars, fairly decent spread of manufacturers as well. We've got quite a few up at the top of all different manufacturers, so it'll be nice to see some looking machinery tonight.
Yeah, definitely so. Me and yourself have been casting, of course, one make championships for a while now. Of course, the Super Cup, and I believe Unetta Cup. Run me through.
I did not.
No.
First round was Super Trofeos.
I feel like I've been casting one makes forever then. I've done Ginettas and I've done, of course, the Super Trofeos, and now we're into a little bit of a mix with machinery. But Joshua Allen now, just 6.5 minutes to go. Very slow through the chicane, definitely trying to build him up some space before he takes a run at the line, and he does so. Flat footing now through turn 16 all the way down the main straight. It's going to feel like it goes on for an eternity. Look how long it is. 5th gear, still not even reached 6th yet, and we're still not even halfway down the straight. Now we look to the braking boards on the left hand side, as Callum says. Use all of the entry curb essentially and trail brake it to the apex. Be very careful. Little anti-cut curbs on the inside, right on the apex, so it makes it very awkward. If you do want to use a bit of curb, you've kind of got to use a tiny bit and kiss it, or you've got to use a massive amount. And Joshua Allen there slides out wide in turn 3. Very long corner, being told in my ear by Stewie it has been invalidated. So Joshua Allen just under 6 minutes now to go. He's going to have another couple of stabs at it, but Venti Rationov hustling the Porsche up into P3, and we've got Pozniakov as well just behind him. 2 very similar times set by the same kind of mark, so going to be interesting to see if these guys can work themselves forward. And Rationov there flashing a car ahead. I believe could be Carlos Calatayud, who dives out the way possibly there. The number 30, way off the racing line there. Good to see. And Rationov navigates now turns 7 and 8. Very easy place to pick up a track limits on turn 8. Very use too much of the inside curb as you carry a lot of speed through 7. Try and give yourself the best run up to 9. You overcook it. Run slightly over the curb, and that's it. Another track cut warning. Now head with braking zone down into turn 10, where sector 3 begins. So you've got 10, got a quick 11 before a tap of the brakes into turn 12. Hugging it on the inside. Some drivers tend to, either hug it all the way around the inside or kind of run out wide and kind of cut back to try and maximize as much drive as they can. And Joshua Allen now for the Jean Alacia Esports Academy. 223 numbered Ferrari is going again. Top Ferrari at the moment. The nearest Ferrari to him, Nico Kumpu, down in P6, about half a second off the pace. Now ride on board once again. So very wide line as always, braking diagonally towards the apex. Be careful of those anti-cut curves as I mentioned earlier. Now hopefully we're going to have a tidy turn 3 as Joshua Allen's Pirellis now should be up to temperature. We see a little bit of a soaring of the wheel, a little bit of a twitch, but keeps it very clean indeed as he now heads down to turn 4. Repsol denoted by the bridge. Brake under the bridge, and again a big twitch on the brakes, but it seems like Joshua Allen is getting great rotation through these corners of 4. Now sweeping down to 5, being told in my ear by Stewie, 2 tenths up already on this lap. So looking like a very good time. He's got a very small margin to find on Colot's Audi. So fingers crossed he can keep it together now. Hard on the brakes for 7. flicks it left, a big lump of oversteer, manages to keep it the right side of the curb in turn 8, and now comes up the hill, turn 9. Bit of a blind apex. You kind of almost got to judge where you need to point the car, and all of the green stuff as he comes out of 9 for the long run down to 10. Hard on the brakes, a little bit of traffic ahead. Hopefully this will not affect his lap as he tucks it nicely into 11. Uses all the curb and a little bit more out of 11. And now, out of 10 into 11 and now 12. A bit of a dab of opposite lock again. The car seems really squirrely and really light on corner exit, but he's getting great rotation into the corners. Wrestles the wheel through 13 into 14 and 15, staying off the giant sausage curbs. A little bump over the anti-cut on the exit. Now rounds turn 16 for a clean run to the line. Can Joshua Allen improve? Small margin for Kolot's Audi, and he does. Sticks it on pole with a 1:42.650. Excellent lap from Joshua Allen. We got to ride on board the whole thing. And Andrei Pozniakov was looking very good in practice in the Porsche, but can't seem to get a lap together yet, Callum. 2.5 minutes to go. He's going to have another 2 attempts at it if he's got enough fuel and enough life in those Pirellis.
Yeah, obviously now we're looking at fairly high track temperatures, 32 degrees here. Obviously it is classed as optimum by the ACC system. So hopefully he's kept enough life in these Pirellis and got enough fuel for another couple of attempts as he crosses the line now, jumping up to 4th place here. It's 4.3 tenths still to find as we see Marlowe in the 38 Audi, the 2nd place Audi, currently coming up to the line to finish another lap for Team STR. And he jumps up to 3rd. This battle here for sort of the 2nd, sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th place is really hotting up now. You've got quite a few sort of high-skilled drivers, as we say. Alan of the John Lacey Esports team. You've got Colot, Marlowe, Ed Varson's up there, and Pozniakov and Rachanov as well. People like Chris Downing and Nico Kumpu and Stevenson as well, and Andy Boardman, who I know you've been racing on Thursdays extensively. Only getting a look in the top 10 here, really.
Yeah, it just goes to prove, that we think, the likes of Andy Boardman and myself, fairly quick drivers, can stick it to each other, kind of all race for an hour. And then you've got Andy Boardman down in 10th, and you've got another, 9 drivers ahead of him. And there's guys even quicker that are, of course, signed up for the RCI Sports 6-hour challenge. But more on that later. Obviously, pre-qualifying, as Callum mentioned earlier, has wrapped up. But we're now watching Hugo Collot on his flying lap. Going to probably be the last one of the session, I would say. A small margin to take Joshua Allen off of pole. Malho behind, 0.415 to the good, and he's got Evardson very close to him as well, 0.468 to the good. So the gap between those two, very small indeed. And Pozniakov and Rachanov, again, nearly identical. And I'm being told on my ear, Kolot has invalidated this lap on turn 8. So may not get another stab at it, but Andy Boardman now, Greased Weasel Racing, looking very good on the Delta, hemorrhaging a little bit of time as he comes through the chicane. Very poor exit through 16. He was about 0.15 up on the lap and comes across the line and just about makes a small improvement, but still remains in P10. Not enough to fire him up the grid anymore. And Pavel Gajda now, a driver we've seen before at RCI, do very, very well indeed. Currently down in P20 in the BMW. Crosses the line, 8 seconds to go. So he will have another attempt at it. But P20, 1.5 seconds near enough to the leader. Big improvement to be made there. As Malho, I believe, has managed to sneak a final lap in. He's got about half a second to find to take the pole, and that's straight away invalidated. Way too much of the green stuff. And now we flick down to Tom Shipston, silver British Masters champion. Very rare to see him in a Ferrari. I don't think I've ever seen him in a Ferrari, mainly a Bentley driver from memory. Did very well through the British Masters stages. Got a little bit of traffic ahead. Rudy Philmolter, I believe, in the Porsche ahead, and I'm not too sure who is in the Audi, but Rudy Pills off to the left, leaving just the R8 Evo 2 LMS ahead, and only a couple of corners to go for Tom Shipston. Again, looking over to his Delta, looking like a slight improvement to be had here. He's just got to keep it clean through the final chicane, 14 and 15, before running into 16. Not going to be close enough to the Audi ahead to pick up any slipstream as he comes around the last corner. Keeps it very clean indeed. Loses a lot of time, though, in the corner exit, and a slight improvement there into P15. And Pavel Gajda still on a relevant lap. I think one of the last cars to do so. A couple more cars ahead of him and one behind. But Gajda with improvement to have for the Project Dream Team, the 924 BMW M4 G3. now rounds through 13 into 14. Very slow kind of chicane. Feels like kind of fighting the weight of the car, transitioning over. And now comes around turn 16, looking to his delta, looking like a slight improvement to be had again, but hemorrhaging time as he came out the chicane. It seems all these drivers tonight, Callum, are improving everywhere in the lap. Gets to the chicane, and then they just throw it away.
Yeah, obviously you've got quite a difference, quite a contrast as we see the last car there of Marquez crossing the line. Quite a contrast between the different sort of styles of corner of that last slow chicane. It's a very, very different corner to anything else on the track. You've also got to factor in that the track's very hot there. You've got the Pirellis are probably struggling at the most by that point. So the time you gain out of the Pirellis in the first few sectors, you might end up losing out of the final corner if you overheat the tires. And as we see the qualifying standings running through there, it's Alan on pole with Kalot, Marlow, Edverson, Pozniakov, Rachanov, Nico Kumpu, Dorber, Downing, Boardman, Lindrup, Tudor Budu, Stevenson, Daly, Marquez in 16th, Tom Shipston down in 17th, as you said, the Masters Silver Masters champion, I believe it was. You said Carlos Catalud at literally his home circuit in the M4 down in 18th, Whittle down in 19th, Chris Spence down in 20th, Gadster in 21st, Hauser in 22nd, Phil Malta followed by Bosch, Les Stevenson, Matt Stevens, Roscam, Straighten, John Aracer, Kingston Lee, and Berner rounding off, I believe, the end of the grid, who didn't set a lap in qualifying. We see there as we cut to the cinematics. Quite interesting. I wonder if he'll be starting from the pit lane or from the back.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Berner, very quick driver from the British Championship on Thursdays. Definitely can compete. So very surprised to see him down at the end. Maybe not wanting to qualify for various reasons. But of course, we have 3.5 minutes for the drivers to prepare to the grid. And this is, of course, where normally we do the championship results. However, being round one with some custom liveries, of course, here at RCI, we normally take a little wander down the grid with Stewie behind the cameras and of course play Spot the Custom Livery. So the Jean Alesi Esports Academy car on the left, very striking livery, quite like this one. Caught a glimpse of it, I think Fridays when I casted with Jesse. Okay, and that was quite a nice livery to spot. We've then got the STR car of Malho, I believe. Again, very kind of reminiscent of the old Pennzoil R33 liveries we used to see, obviously, in Super GT. We've also got the Danish esports of Dan Evardsen, green and black car, not to be confused with the Race Anywhere Simsport, Danish wing end plates. That one. Then the Barlas esports team, a very kind of regular livery to those that race at RCI will remember. Barzaghi ran this for many races in Deutschland Masters when he chose the Porsche. We then, of course, have a position of right. Nico Kumpu on the left. We're then down to another Porsche of Joe Dorber on the right using an in-game livery. We then got the Volpa Simsport car of Chris Downing. Very rare to see Chris in anything other than a Mercedes. Every time I see him, it's Mercedes AMG Evo. It was an option on the table tonight, but he has chosen the M4 GT3. Andy Boardman to the right there. We've then got Linderup on the left. I believe another Danish esports livery, I want to say, indeed.
Yeah, I agree.
Teammates with Evardsen, choosing two very different cars. We then have the Modena sports car from the real life series, WC. In-game livery, very complex to do. I'd like to be on the back of that one. We then have Connection Boss Racing even of Will Stevenson, not to be Les Stevenson, of course, to far end of the grid. No, I don't believe they are related, although there is a bit of a rumor going around in RCI that Les is Will's dad, long lost dad from many moons ago in a different world, maybe. And Tom Shipston on the right, Ground Zero Racing, iconic livery, always orange, black, and normally some silver, but no silver in that one, it seems, mainly orange and black this time. Carlos Calatayud on the left, game livery. We then have a kind of group of BMWs, Whittle, have Spence on the left, with the Aztec Racing, extra Z in that, double Z, H Racing, as seen on the quarter panel just below the Scottish flag. Two Scottish drivers here tonight in Joshua Allen and, of course, Spence. And then we have another livery that looks very reminiscent of the Dunlop Le Mans liveries. That, and then a twist on the iconic flying lizard design from Rudy Filmalter, going with a green and purple rather than the kind of silver and red from the American Le Mans Series days. And then we have a WEC themed livery, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah,
chap.
that's a Proton competition car livery, I believe.
I believe I've seen it on Race Department. RPMS on the left, no custom livery, very unfortunately. And then we have, I believe this is Roscam on the right. I've seen that car a few times in EWC, raced against that one. Then we have an in-game one, I believe another in-game one. Matthew Kingston Lee in, of course, as usual, the big yellow taxi. Then we have Burner in the yellow kind of fade to black Porsche. German wing end plates. Tim Ireland also sporting that livery, I believe, down in Split 2. And then lastly at the back, number 32, we have Cassiaro. So Cassiaro starting behind Burner, Callum. So Burner not the last car on the grid. And as everybody gets their engines fired and gets moving, apparently being told in chat from RPMS, Daniel Crimson, that Stevens forgot the livery. It's being submitted next time, hopefully. So we'll have one more custom livery, but rookie error indeed, not before the deadline that is set on the website. And of course, as our race is about to begin here, of course, drivers single file for the formation lap, it's a perfect time to tell you about one of our partners, of course, AK Esports is a leading company in management and organization across the world, of course, helping us here as well with our server solutions at RCI. So if any of their services are of any use to you, you can, of course, check out their website in the description below. Head on over to AKE. And, of course, speaking of esports, it's my favorite time when we get to talk about the RCI 6-hour challenge esports series. Pre-qualifying wrapped up last night at 23:59 Central European. We had 49 drivers, 49, separated by less than 0.453. That's the window we're talking here. Very, very small margins. We have 5 rounds, 50 teams, limited tyre sets, a custom BOP, and a forecasted 5-figure €11,000 prize pool. The series aims to showcase the absolute best of what sim racing has to offer on Assetto Corsa Competizione. SMP Racing took honours with the fastest pre-qualifying stints, followed by Williams Esports Chill Blast and Malinowski and Boothby. Those to qualify included Yas Heat. Williams Esports fielded 2 cars, Chill Blast and a Razor-sponsored car. Then we had ITB Esports, FFS Racing, Legion of Racers, Azatec Visceral Esports, Ren Velton, Race Anywhere Simsport, John Alesi Esports that we see, of course, on pole here today, West Competition Racing, Kramer Racing Esports, Connection Loss Racing. Once again, we do have a car here in the form of Will Stevenson, Armamentario, nearly on pace for Loche and Leipert Esports. And unfortunately, Samantha Tan Racing missed out on a very competitive field, but lots of teams, of course, now locked into the season. And if the paid esports is not your thing and you want to run for fun with a few friends but still follow the same kind of rule set, we're of course running a free version of that competition with no entry fees and no prize pool. And of course, those of you not driving are welcome to drop into RCI TV, where Fanatec are giving away something very special. But more details still to be revealed on that one later. And now, Callum, as the cars form up 2 by 2, I'm going to hand this one to you.
Oh, first race start of the season as we see cars coming up. John Alesi, car of Alan, backing the cars up to the line. So it's going to go green any second now for an hour of GT3 racing here at Barcelona. And we're green as well, with Kalot getting the better start there. Alan having to tuck in behind and Kalot getting completely clear. Now moving to cover that inside line from Marlowe in the Audi, with a very good start down the middle. Alesi really struggling, the John Alesi car, of Alan, really struggling off the start as we come through turn 1 here, looking in the background to see if we have any collisions. Looks like it's nice and clean so far. Hopefully not a commentator's curse there. As we see Kalot again running away at the front now, and Chris Downing there involved with Andy Boardman, I believe, down in P7 as the scoreboards do their usual messing about and sorting themselves out, and looks like a nice clean start, John, so far, as we dip down the hill into the last of the tricky sort of hairpin style corners of, I believe, turn 5. Oh no, and commentator's curse, we see, I believe that is one of the Audis around, and I believe it was Carlos Catalayud off on the gravel in one of the Beamers there. I'm not quite sure of that.
Yeah.
So we cut to Tom Shipson being chased down by one of let's see, as he comes through the my preview was messing up there of the thing, but we're back now, and the Jean Lacey car of Alan trying to make a move down the inside there of Marlo. Pozniakov being attacked by Rashanov, and looking on the back of Edverson there, so the Beamer really holding up these guys as they sweep through turn 12 into 13, 14 and 15, I believe, down in through this busy section. So who is going to get the best exit and drive off the hairpin here? Don't want to cause too much wheel spin, don't want to lose the back end on that big sausage curb as the cars come round the final corner here. No one trying to make a move down the inside. A few people having a look, maybe just trying to get in the mirrors there, trying to distract the driver, as we've got Gadja, who is, I believe, Project Dream Car, the 924, who will be defending from... I need to sort the resolution out on my Discord replay because it's causing problems now. Down into turn 1. Car down the inside there, I believe, of Bosch in one of the Porsches there. I'm quite sure, maybe Spencer. I can't quite see. Sorry. Restart Discord, so I'm going to hand back over to you, John, instead. Give me 1 second.
It's all right, no worries. Technical difficulties, as always, here in the booth. Joshua Allen coming under fire from Dan Evertson in Green Machine BMW at the back, as we now ride on board with Rafael Malho for Team STR, number 38. Got off to a great start. As you said, Joshua Allen either napping as the green dropped or just slightly struggling with the Ferrari's turbo spool, maybe. Of course, the R8's being naturally aspirated. As soon as you jump on that loud pedal, it does just fire itself straight off the line indeed. Finding that in the AMG Evo as well in the British GT Championship, as Joshua Allen goes for a move, and it's opened the door to Evertson, and Malho a bit aggressive on the accelerator, tapping the back of Allen. Allen goes off to driver's right. It allows Evertson through. Venti Rashanov allowing to catch up, as well as Pozniakov in the Barcelona Esports Porsche. So 2 Porsches now, going to see if they can maybe work together to try and tow themselves kind of forward along the pack. The M4 punching a great hole in the air for the R8. The R8, we know, is very good in a straight line, very low down design, very sleek, cuts through the air. And all the meanwhile, this man here, Hugo Collot, has just ran away with the race so far, the number 14 Race Esport team. Great pace from him early on, built up 3 seconds already to Evertson, but now Evertson is free of the fight of Malho and Allen, that was slightly delaying him earlier. Chris Downing has decided to come into the pits down in P15. Nice early stop out the way already. Hopefully the track temperatures will not play havoc with those Pirellis. And Connection Lost Racing, Will Stevenson up the inside of Marquez. A little bit of a hip and shoulder check as he goes through. Hopefully the stewards not going to be kind of punishing that one too severely, although they will be seeing a lot more than what we did with drivers' inputs, various onboard cameras and angles. Of course, we only get treated to the TV pictures here. Joe Dorber looking very close to the back of Andy Boardman in the number 70. Boardman not strong qualifying, but has capitalized a little bit on the start so far, finding himself up into P6. And of course tonight, no split championship here tonight. Everybody is of course racing themselves for the honors of overall points, and it's going to make a very competitive field. But of course, an hour is still quite a long time to get a move done. Of course, it's not one on lap 1, despite what some of these drivers might be looking at now. And we're going to see a replay here of Jordan Daly. Joshua Allen down the inside, possibly nearly contact there. Bump forward, bump backwards. Matt Stevens goes round in the background. Rudy Philmolter having to take evasive action as well. And Jordan Daly, P14. Joshua Allen still behind him. Broadcasting tool obviously picked up some kind of contact there. So stewards, once again, are going to be looking at that. And stewards tonight, while we speak of them, we have Bart, Martin, Connor, Jake and Tom Watts. A little bit of a thin team to what we're usually used to. There's normally a couple more people in that one. And of course, Alan is looking very fired up after that kind of lap 1, lap 2 escapade across the drivers right in the hairpin. He's going to be wanting to capitalise a lot more on what he can do. Of course, qualifying in the front row of the grid, not a great start, gone back to P15 already, but with his pace he should be able to cut up through the field and fingers crossed still net some championship points on that one. And of course I'm hoping, Callum, you're back with us.
Yeah,
all good.
all back,
We all
all
good.
sorted, all sorted.
Perfect.
Yeah, Alan with a bit of a frustrating start there, I think. Probably getting a little bit hot-headed as we see Gadger in the Beamer trying to fight off the two Porsches of Bosch and our RCI's very own Les Stevenson, I believe, in the car number 46 there, just following 88 of Bosch through there, trying to maybe see if there's any moves to Hayad. Not really a common passing point here up the inside. You have to be very, very, very close to do it. With Bosch right under the rear wing of that Beamer, very, very large rear wing on that BMW. I have seen one in person at track as we cut forward to Pozniakov in P4 there, currently chasing down Marlowe. Good start for Marlowe and Edverson as well up ahead in the BMW of the car 180. These guys forming a little bit of a train now, as you said, 4 seconds to Kalot in the Audi in first place. But these guys, I think, are going to be one of the big battles to watch, as we see Reichnov in the rearview mirror there in that Porsche, still ever lurking. So any issues with these three, and Reichnov, Boardman and Dorber are going to be right in the fight as well. Saw that quite a lot in the Lamborghini series, where you start a fight a group of three, and that group of three would very, very quickly become a group of 6 or 8 or possibly even more as we look at the track map. All the cars flooding down the main straight now. Kalot again pulling the gap out another half a second with a fastest lap on that lap, so he's really enjoying that clean air that he's got now. Alan's up into 14th place as well, so overtaking Dorber. Pozniakov still just following these guys. We've got 52 minutes of racing, obviously a very hot and heated start, but these guys need to calm down and realise that not every move needs to be made on lap 1. Plenty of racing here to do as we cut back and look at the back of the car of Dan Edverson. Those Danish flags are very prominent on the end plates, like that little touch there from, I was going to pronounce the esports team name. I have some Danish friends who will bully me if I do, because Kronjeland's esports sim racing. So is Marlowe here going to think about a move into the hairpin? No, again, just following closely. All about getting in those rear view mirrors and the side view mirrors as well, and trying to force the car ahead to make a mistake. That's how passes are made in these sorts of races. Don't want to risk a big dive bomb down the inside and potentially ruin the race of yourself and the car in front of you. Not worth it, and it can cause you to spin out. And as we cut to a race replay, I believe, of Alan, yeah, this was the contact with Marlowe, just getting tagged really there by the front right hand wheel of Marlowe there, 3 into sort of the space of 2 cars. Really doesn't go, as we see Alan deciding to make his pit stop here. So we haven't really covered, John, is the pit window and the pit requirements. I believe a litre of fuel just required, so Alan deciding to make that early there and maybe give himself a bit of space, sort of use that pace that he knows he has. So it's going to be much easier to do that if he has clear track ahead of him, rather than trying to fight through a field of 10 cars just to get back up to the positions. All about tactics and average lap time that he can pull off now, as we still following this battle with Pozniakov, Reichnov, Marlowe and Edverson. Really right up close as we see jump to the splitter cam there. A great view from Stewie of the Audi in front, just trying to get in the mirrors, trying to upset him, trying to push him offline at any point here. Obviously quite a flowing circuit there, so if you go offline in one corner, you're going to be out of place for the next one, and that could put you in a vulnerable position, maybe down the main straight here. Anybody going to look for a dive bomb into the hairpin? Don't think so. Everyone's going to be fairly sensible there, as we see just cars just jumping on the brakes, just trying to modulate the brake pedal, judging off the car ahead, sort of do not want to make any contact and go to the back of someone, because you will spin them round, and the stewards are going to start looking at penalties, John.
Definitely, of course, a live steward team here tonight. We've already had one incident sent over from Jake Boswell. We have an incident on lap 2, turn 4, involving the 38 and the 223. So we're looking at Joshua Allen, leave in the 223. We have a warning for the 223 for avoidable contact. However, position was returned. And see a couple of the stewards sharing screens next door. So they're definitely analysing something. And I'd hate to be the one that had to analyse that kind of bit of a mess we had into turn 5. Didn't look too entertaining from the helicam that we saw. A few drivers involved in a few bumps. So yeah, definitely one they're going to be taking a close look at. And just touching back on your pit stops that you mentioned earlier, Callum, we of course have a 1-hour sprint race tonight with a mandatory stop. So anybody wondering what the orange 1 is next to the driver's name, that is a mandatory stop that they have to take. And anybody you see down at the bottom there, Chris Downing and Joe Dorber, have cleared theirs, so they have a nice green box. As we cut back to a replay, Carlos Calatayud, I believe this is the turn 5. He gets bumped by what looks like Marquez, shoved into Daly. Carlos goes off, Daly goes round. Gadster, I think, is backwards in the middle of the field. And yeah, it's going to be a mess of broadcasting reports on the tool. So I wouldn't like to look through that one. But yeah, back to the pit stop requirement. You of course see the drivers at the bottom. Green box next to their name, Chris Downing, Joe Dorber, means they have cleared and met the requirements for pit stop. So for the pit stop to qualify tonight, you'll need to take a minimum of 1 litre of fuel, as we see Daly down the inside of Boudou in the Porsche. Of course, Boudou, Super Trofeo AM champion last time out on Mondays. Daly, nice clean move there. Boudou gave him a lot of room, probably knew Daly's a bit of a faster driver than me, but on you go. We shall tow each other along and see how far we can get up. Donna Racer finds himself in a bit of a pack here, surrounded by Porsches. He's got Bosch ahead. He's got Stevenson behind, and he is the only BMW for a little while. But we do have a 1 litre of fuel to be taken during the 57-minute pit window. No mandatory tyres needed, so it of course leaves the Pirellis up to the driver's choice. And of course, with 25 degrees in air and 33 degrees in track, you all know how much the front left hates you at Barcelona through turn 3, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. John Eraser down the inside into turn 1, Bosch on the outside of the Porsche. You see the speed difference there. Eraser just about able to draw past, but the Porsche far superior on the brakes. Around the outside it goes a little bit shallow through 2, and it allows Eraser on the comeback on the inside line through 3, and the outside of 3 is definitely where you don't want to be putting yourself. And now Les Stevenson in the background in the green WEC-themed Porsche looks to the inside in 4, side by side under the Repsol bridge. A little bit of elbows out racing again, and Matt Stevens now down the inside as well as they come down to turn 5, although Bosch is going to have the inside line into 5. Stevens around the outside still alongside, so you know, can defend the position all he wants. Stevenson goes a little bit deep, and Stevens back down to P18, I believe, just behind Bosch, waiting for the live timing to update. But all the meanwhile, Matthew Kingston Lee just lurking at the back there in the yellow taxi themed car, finds himself in a prime position in case anything happens, and Stevenson fires it down the inside on Bosch, allows Stevens to come back on a little bit of a twitch and a little bit of an oversteer, although of course Bosch still defends down into turn 5, so all good. But then we see Stevens back on the attack now into the hairpin. Great move to be had there. Not sure if contact was made once again, but possible. Our preview here is a little bit jerky tonight, so we're trying to cast in PowerPoint mode, should we say, is the best kind of anatomy for it, I guess you could say. As we now come down into the chicane, Stevens looks like he's got the move sealed, and Bosch is all good ahead. I think Stewie's changing some quality to try and make it a little bit more bearable for us, and it has done. It looks like it's worked much more. And just realised Tom Shipson's car is orange on one side and grey on the other.
You've got the silver. You've got the silver you wanted there.
I did say on the grid walk we do normally have some silver, and we found it. So Tom Shipson to the inside, looks like Nico Kumpu ahead. Will Stevenson around the outside in 1, gives him the inside for 2. Big twitch coming out of 2, upset on the curb. Of course, can't draw alongside for 3. And we're having a little bit of a discussion in chat. Daniel Crimson says, probably worth taking tyres. And, you know, I think if I was in this race, Callum, I would be taking tyres. And a big bump there from Bosch into the back of Stevens. Stewart's going to be looking at that one very much so. And Matthew Kingston Lee says, thank you very much. I'll take you both.
Making a sensible decision to wait there for Will Stevens to come past again. The stewards will take that into account with any penalties. Just speaking quickly of penalties, actually, something that Stewie's mentioned in chat and I had a notice, poor Gadger going to be spending quite a bit of time here in the pits as we see, really big punt there on Matt Stevens there by Bosch, but very, very sensible decision to wait for him. Gadger getting a drive-through for track limits in the first photo, as we see a car very close of Pozniakov there at the back of Edverson. Thought that was going to be another car spun around, and a drive-through for track limits in the first 10 minutes of the race, and speeding in the pit lane as well, got a stop and go 30. So he's going to be spending quite a bit of time in the old pit lane, including the mandatory stop. So expect him to be shooting down the order. That's going to be a bit of a painful one for him there.
Yeah, it's going to be three trips through pit lane. So first for the drive-through, second for the stop and go, and third to clear the mandatory stop, because of course with a penalty you cannot touch the car, you cannot work on it at all. It must come in and go out as it remained. And Tom Shipston giving a little bit of room there to Nico Kumpu, maybe a little bit too much room, as it allows Will Stevenson around the outside in the Connection Lost Racing blue Mercedes as they come up towards Repsol. Shipston on the inside. Stevenson's going to have to hang it around the outside or try the old up and under. And we see Evertson there on the inside. I think that was Callum. Not sure what happened to him, but Evertson was running 7.6 seconds behind Kolot and P2. And he now finds himself way down the order. Pozniakov up the order. Apparently Stewie is trying to find the replay in a minute, so we're going to have a look to see what happened to P2 as we see his time there go from the board on the left. So Edvardsen sat there on the inside waiting for the field just to stream by as we now come to a replay. We see ahead there Pozniakov maybe involved, and Rachinov into the back as well. So two guys getting very close at the front. Pozniakov, we did say, through the chicane, did look very, very close to the back of Edvardsen. And we now see another replay here a little bit earlier on. So we got Pozniakov behind, Edvardsen ahead. They go onto the bridge, a little bump. There. And he manages to save it and hold the brakes like you should. And Rachinov comes through completely blind to it. And unfortunately just runs up the back of the Danish driver. And he now finds himself all the way down in P14, probably with a heap load of rear end damage that he's going to be wanting to fix. So expect that car to take a trip down pit lane soon. And we are seeing a few penalties being handed out now. We of course had the lap 1 turn 2 lap 2 turn 4 involving the John Lacey car. So the next one in the list from Jake Boswell is incident on lap 1 turn 2 involving the 46 and the 699. We have a 5 seconds for the 46. 46 lost control of the car during the exit of turn 2, making contact with the 699 and forcing it off the track. Then have an incident on lap 1 turn 4 involving the 182, the 30. We have a 15 seconds as we see here. I think this is the first result from the 46. It is indeed a bit of a lazy kind of spin there from the bump. It wasn't really a spin, it was more of a slide to the gravel, and of course a heap load of time lost there. We then have an incident, the second one on the list, incident lap 1 turn 4 involving the 182 and the 30. We have a 15 seconds for the 182. The 182 is late on the brakes, knocks the 30 plus one other car off track. Then have an incident on lap 1 turn 5 involving the 54 and the 96. We have a drive-through for the car 54. 54 goes off track, joins into the 96, spinning them. So I think this is this one. The 54 there on the inside, turn 12. Around the outside it hangs. I think that's just maybe a little bit of contact on the transition between 11 and 12, but that's why Cassiaro there has a drive-through penalty to his name. And then finally, for now, we have an incident lap 1 turn 10 involving the 54 and the 699 racing incident with minor side-by-side contact. And if you yourself are looking to improve on your driver's skill set and not end up in the steward's report, shall we say, you can of course get 25% off your driver coaching by heading on over to our partner driver61.com. You have a link in the description below for a referral and of course a discount code in the checkout. So from one-on-one coaching to full driving courses, folks over at Driver61 should have everything you need to improve yourself. As we flick to a race replay, I believe this is Cassiaro's earlier piece of contact. There we go, side-by-side contact, side-by-side again. And of course we see BMW going through, BMW in the back going wide of Hauser, I believe, trying to determine what's going on. But that's between the 699 on that one, I believe it was, and the 54. So that's the minor side-by-side contact that we read out last time. And just as I finish reading out and doing my piece, we have a lap 2, turn 10, involving the 9, the 256 for racing incident, minor contact. We then have an incident lap 2, turn 10, involving the 223 and the 38. 223 makes a dive bomb, causing them to be slow on exit. 38 accelerates into the 223, both drivers deemed partially at fault. That was, of course, the Malho and Allen incident that we saw at the start of the race, just down here, actually, in turn 11, where we're heading down to now. Of course, we saw Allen exiting to stage right. Malho continued on. So, kind of a tit for tat on that one, Callum. It's,
Yeah,
you could have slowed up, but at the same time, you shouldn't have really dive bombed it.
that's probably how I would have judged it if I was in the steward's box. I'm going to say probably how I would have saw that. We saw obviously there earlier the 699 John Aracer, after being involved in quite a few of those stewards inquiries, still battling away with Les Stevenson with the 5-second penalty. Do really just want to mention that Proton livery from the WEC series. Really like that livery. That's obviously the one run by Michael Fassbender in Le Mans last year. A very good series up on YouTube. So after we're obviously done here tonight, Road to Le Mans, as we see Les Stevenson, actually, commentator's cursed there as I'm talking about
He's done it again.
His livery is. I've cursed him, and has he gone into the back there? Has he spun by himself? No, tags the back of John Aracer and sends him round. Very clumsy. They're stopping on the exit, I believe, to try and let John Aracer go, and John Aracer not making a move. He could have done maybe. And now we see Les Stevenson battling away with, I believe, Roskam in the yellow and silver BMW, I believe?
It is indeed, the 96, yeah.
Yeah, 96 of Thibaut Roskam there, and some contact there. Roskam running into the side of Les Stevenson, nearly held it, twitching that left and right, and he's off into the gravel. Lots of incidents, really, John. Quite a few of this split one boys of getting involved in incidents, and we see Jordan Daly here on the back of, I believe, Pedro Marquez in the Lamborghini there. Really big dive bomb down the inside, bash of the doors there as Jordan Daly, slides his way through. I wonder if the stewards will have a look at that. These guys are going to be busy tonight. I think we're going to have quite a few of these having to be pushed to a post-race penalty. As I say that, Jake Boswell posted another one in the chat of the incident on lap 2, turn 13, involving the 24 and the 70, a racing incident for minor contact. And I can see him typing away there again. So the stewards have obviously decided some more things, and we're going to get quite a few pings, I imagine, through in a second. Or he's having a go at me for being active in the chat and typing like he did Lamborghini streams. I got quite a few messages saying, "Why are you typing in the stewards chat?" It was just left in there by accident, as we see Martin Lindrup in another one of those Danish cars having a go at, I believe, Boardman in the very iconic black, red and yellow Audi. Darwin Stevenson, sorry, as I get corrected by Stewie there. And we see Dalbert and Stevenson going through the final corner now. So Stevenson with a 5-second penalty. As we said, Dalbert now ahead of Les Stevenson after that replay, as we saw Ivy Streams jump. And Dalbert, importantly, making that pit stop already. Les Stevenson still got his stop to make, as well as a 5-second penalty to serve. So I believe the ACC system, John, you'll correct me here, it lets you serve it in the pit stop for anyone who hasn't taken their pit stop already, if they have the penalty.
Yeah,
so obviously he'll be held for 5 seconds.
Yeah, so anybody you see with a 1 and a time penalty, so for example Marquez in P9, he's of course got his mandatory stop to take and 15 seconds additionally. So when you're held, you will of course be held for the additional 15 seconds, as we see Michael Bosch taking a stab here at Roskam and manages to get through. Again, not sure if we're getting a bit of elbows out racing tonight from these guys. But yeah, so anybody, Les Stevenson can serve the 5 seconds while he's stationary. The only thing you obviously can't serve would be a drive-through, a stop and go, at the same time as taking a pit stop. But I think the problem here tonight, correct me if I'm wrong here, Callum, I would say a lot of these drivers don't necessarily drive these cars on the regular. So they're being caught out by their kind of unique handling characteristics, shall we say, such as a Porsche, very tricky car to drive. I'll even admit this, I struggle in this car. It's a tricky machine to drive and drive fast and safe. The Joshua Allen up the inside of Carlos Calatayud into the hairpin there. It's a mirror image of the last move he almost made where he got punished for dive bombs, as we see a race replay now. Alan with a slipstream, Jinx to the right, Jinx to the left, not really alongside, and kind of just about makes the corner, and Carlos becomes a little bit of a nudge off the circuit. But Alan, I think, did back out and just say, you know what, I've messed this one up. So onwards you go again, and we'll have another stab down into turn 1 maybe. But this is all over P17 down the bottom end of the field. Of course, Les Stevenson ahead still to take a pit stop, so that'll be a free position. But then, of course, he's got to catch Joe Dorber and Chris Downing, who have already served their stops as well. Alan to the right, back to the left again. Carlos looking in his mirrors. He's going to be tracing that Ferrari everywhere it goes, and a perfect defense there into turn 1 from Carlos, making it very awkward to size a move up at all. As we now flick to a race replay of Boudou and Marquez through 7 and 8. Boudou looks a little bit slow coming up the hill. Marquez looks a little bit slow coming up the hill. Too much curb in 8. Not sure what we were watching there, but the steward's tool has obviously found something for Stewie to show, and unfortunately nothing to add there. As we see a few more incidents coming through in the steward's chat. We of course have a incident lap 3, turn 3, on the 108 and the 182 for a minor contact. Incident lap 4, turn 4, involving the 924 and the 99 minor contact. Incident lap 5, turn 1, involving the 46 and the 699. That's a Racer and Stevenson minor contacts. Incident lap 2, turn 16, involving the 197 and the 223 of Joshua Allen. Avoidable contact, no position gained. Second warning up to a 5-second penalty and applied. So stewards now watching Joshua Allen very, very closely indeed. They're not going to be impressed with the move he's tried to make on Carlos. We then have an incident lap 3, turn 5, involving the 79 and the 77. We have a warning for the 77 for contact with the 79. Then have an incident on lap 5, turn 5, involving the 94 and the 88. Warning for the 88 on that one, avoidable contact, no position gained. Incident on lap 4, turn 16, involving the 67 and the 54. Racing incident, minor contact. And then lastly for now, lap 1, turn 5, that was the big one we saw at the beginning. 273 involving, and the 957. We have a drive-through for the 273. The 273 has tapped the 957 into a spin, and that is unfortunately spent Aztec Racing. As we see him slipping down the board there, 23 at the moment, will disappear soon off the timing sheet, and has served the penalty right away. So he's probably realised what he's done wrong and thought, you know what, this is fair enough, I'm just going to get out of the way, slip down the order, try and find some clear air, and hopefully we can drive back from this one. But round 1, Callum, typically we've seen new championships always full of incidents, and I'm still going by the theory of A, you don't really drive this car on the regular, and B, it's just kind of, you know, everybody's finding their feet with each other. Of course, we've got regulars here that race all the time at RCI. We then have, you know, some new names that I've not seen on a Monday. Kolot, Malho, Bosniakov. We then got Boudou, of course, who's made it to split 1 this time, not split 2. We've obviously got the regulars, Roscoe Downing, Dorver Stevenson. Joshua Allen, don't normally see him on a Monday. We normally see him on Fridays. Of course, the skill level between where Allen is in the grid now is a lot different to maybe where he's used to racing. Of course, under the Jean Alesi banner, of course, esports, you know, pinnacle, peak of their career, and Allen probably just doing this for a little bit of extra testing in the Ferrari. Just not expecting these guys to, you know, break that little bit earlier, you know, not trail break as long into a corner, be a bit later on the power than what he's usually used to with the big names that he competes against, you know, SMP, Williams, to name a few. And it's just catching the higher skilled people out, maybe, of these kind of, you know, I wouldn't say lower skilled, but obviously not those esports kind of league drivers, shall we say.
Yeah, it's almost very first day back at school. Obviously, Monday championships are finally back after a couple of weeks break. It seems like these guys wanting to make the best first impression they can, obviously trying to get the best result they can. A lot of seemingly impatient, sort of frustrated moves, I'd say. You know, you're looking at that from an analysis point of view. Obviously, I do quite a bit with some real life racing, as we've talked about on Monday nights before. You've got a driver there who's clearly very quick and clearly, as you say, sort of faster than those around him, but can't get past, or maybe doesn't want to wait and isn't being patient enough. And you know, it's hurting his own race there by just not sticking behind for a few more corners and maybe waiting for the right opportunity to pass. Trying to force it too quick. He needs to slow down and just take it as it comes. As we cut back to him and Pozdiakov up behind Carlos Calatayud, in the BMW with the M Sport livery there, coming through the fast kink and down the back straight here. Are we going to see yet another dive bomb by Alan as he cuts to the inside? He's having to think about it. He's dived down to the inside. Carlos seen it coming and left enough space as Alan drives off the circuit there. So is that going to let Pozniakov in the Porsche, number 86 Porsche, through, trying to hang it around the outside? As you say, that Porsche very difficult to drive. I've tried it a couple of times and struggled every time with it. It's just really impossible to get the balance of the car sitting right as we see the cars coming down. Kalatu with a bit more breathing space there, but Alan still very, very close behind. And with him making so many dive bombs tonight, I'd be in my mind as Carlos right now. Is he going to look? Is he going to look? And you never know with him. It seems like Alan is quite the aggressive driver, although that is, as you say, probably nature of the fact that he does race with such big names on the esports scene as part of the Jean Alesi banner. He's probably used to, as you say, those drivers all making those kinds of moves, all being that aggressive, all defending as hard as he will. Really, really good exit there out of the little straight from turn 3. He's looking to the inside, maybe going to try and get a run and run side by side into the left-hander. No, cutting back. Pozniakov trying to widen the corner as much as possible, and a contact there between Alan and Kalatayu, and Pozniakov says thank you very much. Even though he has a drive through to serve, he is made the position, and Alan not giving it back to Carlos. At the minute, it seems like maybe I think the stewards are going to have a look at that. I don't think they're going to be very happy with Alan's driving there. I think that's going to be another penalty coming his way. So Kalatayu obviously showing now as behind those two drivers, but with the 5 seconds and a drive through for them both to serve, I think he's going to get dropped back down, and Kalatu will end up making that in the long run.
Yeah, I'd agree there. Alan already in the steward's eye line for driving earlier on in the race, and of course being overly aggressive maybe towards Carlos there. Possibly not going to be the best thing he can do, and we might see that 5 seconds being upped, something a little bit more serious. Of course, turning back to the stewards once again, busy night tonight in the box for them. Kudos to Jake, Tom Watts, Bart, Connor, and Martin, everybody showing up tonight to steward split 1. Of course, stewards doing this voluntarily, taking time out of their evening, much as myself, Callum, and Stewie all do, to provide this, great spectacle of entertainment in the RCI events that we run here over at RCI TV. And it, of course, wouldn't be possible without you guys sitting at home watching every single minute of the race. So we do appreciate that one. As Ferox has joined the chat as well. Welcome, Ferox. Great to see you in an RCI TV stream as well. Incident lap 8, turn 5, involving the 88 and the 46. No further action for the minor contact. We then have an incident on lap 10, turn 4, involving the 180 and the 86. Just trying to remember who that was. 180, Dan Evertson. That was for the Pozniakov incident, sorry. On that one, the 86 takes out the 180 position, is not returned. So stewards, of course, handing out a drive-through. Was it a drive-through we saw for Pozniakov? I think it's already been cleared, hasn't it? Yeah. Dan Everton now behind him, so he's got maybe a chance to retaliate on that one, although 3 seconds just over to the good. So going to be a fight back now for him. We then have an incident on lap 10, turn 4, involving the 180 and the 24. 5 seconds for the 180. The 180 is not holding brakes after the takeout, resulting in avoidable contact with the 24, of course, of Rachanov. So stewards deeming that although Advanson did jump on the brakes.
Just to interrupt you there, John, sorry, as I just noticed a yellow flag on the back straight there, and it was for Joshua Allen of the 223 car, and that car has, as we see now, in the pits. I believe he did not drive back round. I believe that is him calling it a night. I don't know whether he was given a penalty and decided to sort of hold it there and retire off from the race, but I believe that is him out of the race there. Sorry to interrupt your stewards reports there, John. John, his mute button's done him dirty again.
I've apparently muted myself and started talking instead of unmuted and started talking. So wonderful things here at RCI TV. As always, production value through the ceiling as we see Venti Rachinov and Carlos now duking it out together. Hopefully Rachinov's going to be a little bit less aggressive because I think Carlos has had enough dive bombs for an evening. And Carlos round the outside there allows Rachinov up the inside into turn 5. Although Rachinov, of course, round the outside can't do anything. Tries for the switchback down the hill and nothing to be had just yet. Very tricky place to pass down here. Carlos looking in the mirror, going to be watching that Porsche. Of course, gives him just enough room to think there's a move going on, but then of course chops into the apex, and Rachinov looking very racy indeed, pardon the pun. But back to the stewards reports. I'm pretty sure I would say I've finished them. I've just looked, and there's more. So we have an incident on lap 8, turn 5, on the 88 and the 46. No minor contact. Lap 10. No, I think I've already read these. Yeah, I've already read these. Ignore me. Just Discord now doing me dirty as well. Kevin Boss says, "Come on, John, give us a wave." I'm waving, but you can't see it because we don't have face cams here at RCI TV just yet. And John Eraser coming under fire from Will Stevenson down into 11. I think Eraser braked early. Stevenson wasn't quite expecting it, and of course had to take some evasive action. But I would be in agreement. Of course, Joshua Allen has called it a day. Is still in the pit lane there. Joe Dorber on Roscam here. I would say the power of the slipstream, but Roscam definitely looking very slow indeed. I think a flash of the hazard there from Joe Dorber. Roscam possibly just let him go. Said, you know what, crack on. You are way faster than me. I am not going to have this fight with you.
Maybe carrying some damage, maybe? Oh, that's the only thing I could think of that it caused him to sort of back off that much, unless he just realizes that he's not on the pace. As we see, a little bit of side-by-side contact there of, I believe, Joe Dorber. A flash of the lights there from the Audi. No,
it's Rachinov and Lindrup. The overlay again doing us dirty here at RCI. But yeah, Lindrup and Rachinov, as we see here in the queue with Carlos Calatayud just ahead of them in the BMW number 30. Of course, went around the outside, and the R8 typically very tail happy, doesn't particularly like being flicked about while trail braking. That is the result you get, as we now see Cassiaro on the fire of Richard Whittle around the outside. Can't quite do it. Going to try and use that Porsche traction off the corner to head down the hill towards the next section of corners. Obviously, turn 7. Looks to the inside. Whittle leaves the door open, and Cassiaro goes to the inside. Whittle has to duck back on of turn 8 to avoid picking up a track cut limit. Cassiaro is through, and that was a great move on that one. Used the Porsche traction out the hairpin and just fired it in. As we see a race replay.
Place to see a move, but yeah, really good to see the advantages of that car being used, as we see, as you say, I believe Rachinov diving down the inside there, trying to hold off the Audi behind. Is he going to keep it through the kink? Yeah, just manages to cut off in front of that car as he comes through the swooping right-hander there, but really under pressure there, allowing Carlos to maybe pull away a little bit in that other BMW, as we see them again, Venti Rachinov for the Madness team, finally getting overtaken by Lindrup in the Audi car number 9 there, and I think that might be it there, although that Porsche traction, as you say, coming on really strong through the mid-corner, washing out wide though, as we see in the dirty air, coming into the Repsol, braking under the bridge, and just a little bit of a wider line there from when comparing it to the Audi in front. Maybe just, again, trying to fill those mirrors, trying to cause a mistake. You're most likely to cause that after the driver in front of you has just overtaken you. But already that Audi of Lindrup looking onto the back of Carlos Calatayud there, and he's pulled a little bit of a gap there and is under the rear wing of that BMW, already climbing up the hill into the fast kink of turn 9, I believe. So really important, he doesn't run out too wide there. Again, missing the apex all over the place. The Porsche there, quite a few corrections being made on the old steering wheel for Venti Rachinov, really struggling with that back end. Obviously, that flat 6 hanging out of the back of that car. So quite a dynamic car to drive, although Carlos slowed through that hairpin. So Venti Rachinov has now been brought into this battle of 3, really close between these 3 guys, John.
Yeah, I think if Rachinov's playing this one smart, like I think he is, going to try and use that Audi R8 ahead of Lindrup to get past Carlos Calatayud, and then of course slipstream him down the straight, as we see now Pozniakov on the comeback drive, dispatches of Cassiaro fairly quickly, and next in a sight is, of course, Hauser in the yellow BMW, and Whittle, not Whittle. This is a race leader, I believe, coming behind in that dark Audi R8. That's Kolot on lap 22. He's about to lap Pozniakov in the Barlas Esports team car, and yeah, you see there as Stewie flips towards the board on the left. That is the race leader behind, and the race leader has dispatched of a few bits of traffic to put some gap between himself and Marlowe as well. We see the pit window above still open for just over 18 minutes. We still have the top 7 basically to make a stop, as Will Stevenson finds himself with a trip to the beach, courtesy of Verstraeten in the 67. I'm convinced that's not Christoph Verstraeten's Smurf account. Of course, no ranks in ACC, so no need to Smurf. But yeah, finds himself down in P17. Ferrari not having a good run of things at the moment in the midfield. Top 2 Ferraris are Kumpu and Shipstead at the front, with the 2 Audi R8s heading up the field. And Rachinov now finds himself behind Carlos Calatayud, and Linderup has made a move on him, and he's driven off into the distance. And Rachinov is now going to find this very, very frustrating, staring at the back of the BMW M4 GT3. Carlos, of course, way within his rights to defend the position. Everybody is fighting for championship points here, so Carlos has every right to do so on this one with Rachinov, although Rachinov, of course, on raw pace. You put these 2 drivers side by side. Rachinov is definitely the quicker of the 2, there's no doubt about it. But Carlos definitely putting a fair fight to him. As they come through the chicane, you see Porsche splitter, every corner gains on the back of the BMW, and then every corner exit you see the power of the BMW kind of streak away, although it looks like Rachinov's got a great run now through turn 16. This would be very close on the TV cam. As we now flick to the helicam, you see the 2 drivers side by side, and you see the BMW just streaking away, even with, of course, the poor exit Carlos had. He's put at least nearly a car length between himself and Rachinov's in the slipstream halfway down the straight, and he just can't capitalise. The Porsche is just an absolute nightmare in straight line speed, and I'm praying the 992 is going to be slightly better. You see, Rachinov all over him in the corners. As soon as you get to 100% throttle, Carlos just drives away. And of course, with some good straights between each corner, I think the BMW power is what is basically keeping Carlos in this fight. See there, of course, Rachinov with a much tighter line, Carlos with a much wider line, and still Carlos just drives away from Rachinov. There's no way he can get by, although now it looks like Carlos may have gone too wide, although the power's still keeping him in the fight. And we now have some traffic ahead. I believe this is Tudor Voodoo ahead in the 624 Modena sports car, and coming up the hill towards turn 9. I wonder if Carlos gets delayed enough by Tudor that it allows Vency Rachinov to kind of sneak by when he's busy attacking, although Rachinov dipping wheels into the gravel. That's going to be maybe a track limits warning, very, very strict at turn 9. It can be. Really caught me out a few times in the McLaren, a few events that I have run here. And we now see Kolot in the pit lane slipping down the order. So your top 3 still left to pit, with Matthew Kingston-Lee and Roscam in the field as well. Just over 15.5 minutes to go. And this week here at RCI, we do have a fairly busy week, if I do say so myself, as Rachinov takes a trip to the grass there, possibly losing focus behind Carlos, and it's allowed Carlos now to gap him so much. He's going to lose what little slipstream he did have, so Rachinov's now got this to do all again. But Tuesday continues our RCI Goes iRacing Road Series with round 4 start that one again. Round 4 heading to Charlotte Speedway Roval. Our very own Bart Matcher still dominating GT4 Pro, and RPMS Richard Phillips leading MX5 Cup Pro. Wednesday we have an empty slot this week, and Thursday of course continues our Season 12 Championship with a British team. GT3 and GT4 tour the British GT calendar, heading to Snetterton next, with mixed weather last time at Donington. Made for some interesting strategy choices, with myself taking GT3 honours, and Jack Olivia won GT4. Andy Boardman leads GT3 overall. Harry Conway leads GT Pro. And Friday last week wrapped up our GT3 Championship titles, with Dylan Tan taking GT3 Pro from Valentin Barrier and Samir Foch. GT3 Silver was won by Danny Santo, taking victory over Ahmet Sadar Kargulu, and Joshua Lation took a second and third. And Saturday this week, Night Owl heads to Brands Hatch for round 3. Timothy Flamger heads to GT3 Pro overall, with Joe Dorber and Dario Barzaghi chasing on his heels. And GT3 Silver is led by Alexander Orlix from Michel Molteni and Abdel Dos Ramos. So play for in Night Owl as well. And if you like the sound, of course, any of our events, you can of course head on over to our website, racerci.com, where you'll find all the sign-up details, pre-qualifying if required, and of course where you need to be on what day. And now Rachinov is back with Carlos once again. Carlos's power, I think, is just keeping him in it, Callum.
Yeah, it didn't take him long to get back onto the back end of that car. Obviously, something to think about his damage. Obviously, we can see from the extensive splitter cam views that Carlos does have some rear end damage. I believe it was an incident between the two of them as a big stab there for Rachinov going through the sweeping turn 2 there and in through turn 3. Very, very scary moment there. I'm sure Carlos had a bit of a jump as he saw that in the rearview mirror there. Rachinov, I believe, with some hefty damage on his front left, as from memory of previous incidents, and he's pulling alongside Carlos now. Carlos really going defensive, really placing the car well. Obviously, as you said, using that BMW power to his advantage, although really good run there from Rachinov. He's going to put the car up the inside in a place where you wouldn't really do in these side-by-side chicane. Really good respect from both the drivers there, running side-by-side through and up into the kink of turn 9 there. And Rachinov really frustrated now. Just that car placement by Carlos, absolutely perfect, John.
Yeah, you literally can't fault Carlos. He is sticking that BMW everywhere it needs to be on the defense, and he's doing it fairly as well. Not making any late moves. You know, he's breaking in straight lines, defending in straight lines, rather than kind of diagonally cutting across to where Rachinov has placed his Porsche. So kudos to both these drivers. It's making for some excellent viewing here on RCI TV as well. And we've got a few people in chat saying we're pretty sure it's pronounced Carlos Catalunya. Full name from Kevin Boss, Carlos Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And we only name him like that apparently when he's in trouble. Rich is loving iRacing, apparently, at the moment. Richard Phillips, that we mentioned in the breakdown. He's loving iRacing. However, his bank balance is not loving it as much. And if your bank balance is something that, you know, you're struggling to justify with iRacing, over in the Discord, we have some iRacing codes are still available, I believe. Jesse Lee told me on Friday, for those wanting to dip their toe in another sim. We've got a 3-month free trial for new accounts only. Perfect to test, of course, if iRacing is the sim for you. And alternatively, we have 12 months for $49.99 USD. Again, for new accounts only, which is ideal if you, of course, want to take part in our events at RCI over the next year. We will, of course, be running a lot more iRacing, fingers and toes crossed, providing the sim racing gods allow it, should we say. And looking back into the stewards, we've got a few more reports again, Callum. So I'm going from the top here. I'm going with a lap 8, turn 10, involving the 88 and the 77, racing incident, minor contact. Lap 9, turn 3, involving the 88 and the 77. 5 seconds this time for the 77 for pushing the 88 off track. We then have a lap 9, turn 4, involving the 77 and the 88. Once again, 15 seconds for the 88. The 88 took out the 77. However, position was returned. We then have incident lap 12, turn 16, involving the 699 and the 46. We have a 15 seconds for the 46. I believe that was Les Stevenson and John O'Racer that we saw in the chicane on that one. We did capture that one on broadcast. We then have an incident on lap 13, turn 3, involving the 46 and the 96. Again, Les Stevenson, unfortunately. Racing incident, both drivers partially at fault. The 96 moves away from the curb, while the 46 is trying to squeeze him to the curb. And of course, contact made. Lap 13, turn 7, involving the 182 and the 197. We have a racing incident, minor contact. We then have lap 14, turn 5, involving the 96 and the 88. A warning for the 88 for an overtake with small contact. It is, of course, the second warning for the 88, so it's been a 5-second penalty. We then have some more recents from Jake Boswell. Incident, lap 14, turn 11, involving the 30 and the 223. For Allen, of course, a failed late forceful move. Warning, it's the third warning for Joshua Allen, unfortunately, in this race. And then we have an incident on lap 15, turn 6, involving the 223 and the 30 again. A warning for the 223, avoidable contact, no position gained. Fourth warning, penalty up to 5 seconds. When Joshua Allen did retire, as we see Tom Shipston coming in from P3. Of course, Nico Kumpu ahead has stayed out, so maybe trying the old undercut, although gap between them. I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon, as Malho, our race leader, is still to pit as well, and Pozniakov finds himself back into P18 after the massive penalties he accrued during early on. So again, another round to get maybe for Pozniakov. Incident. Oh, sorry, just hammered away there. Thought Pozniakov was about to fire up the inside of turn 9. Very brave move if you try on that one.
That would have been a bold move there, trying to go up the inside of turn 9. No one
Very
really
brave
at
turn
all.
9, especially the Porsche. Not something where I would go.
Well, yeah, I think that would have involved some cars facing the wrong way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd be in agreement with you there, Callum. Incident on lap 18, turn 4, involving the 182 and the 624. No further action. The 182 turns into the 624 and loses out. We then have incident lap 22, turn 5, involving the 54 and the 86 for a racing incident. We then have an incident on lap 18, turn 7, involving the 30 and the 223. 5 seconds again for the 223. So this is where Joshua Allen had already called it a day. See him down there with 15 seconds to name, unfortunately. So no penalty served for him as yet. Just a big hit in championship points. So wanting to bounce back in round 2, as Marquez doesn't really need to go on the defensive from the Porsche. The Porsche still lacking that straight line speed, and unfortunately here with just under 10 minutes to go. We then have a incident lap 21, turn 3, involving the 9 and the 24 for a racing incident. Lap 23, turn 3, involved the 108 and the 67 racing incident, as Marquez now goes very defensive, and a little bump there allows Pozniakov around the outside, gives him the inside for turn 4. I think it was just a kind of, a tit for tat. It was kind of like brake too late, kind of defended too late, and yeah, it all just kind of came to loggerheads as Marquez squirrels out of turn 5 and down the hill now. Little flash of the lights, not sure if it's just the sun glinting off the front of that Lamborghini, although he now finds himself with Verstraeten to dispatch of in the 67, looking very racy. Verstraeten goes on the defense, tries around the outside, Pozniakov into turn 9. We jump to the helicam to see where the drivers are. Verstraeten's going to have to move to the right slightly to allow Pozniakov back on. Pozniakov looks to the inside in the hairpin and does decide to fire it in the end. It looked a bit hesitant, and a bump from Verstraeten pushes Pozniakov wide, and this allows Marquez now back into the frame as well. So we're going to see what happened here on the race replay. Jelly Verstraeten there in the 67. We ride on board with Pozniakov in the Porsche, and there was a definite bump there. It wasn't my eyes deceiving me, and Pozniakov's not going to be happy about that one, and possibly the stewards might even be looking at one as well. And finally, in the stewards report so far, I say touch wood, lap 24, turn 4, on the 86 and the 79. Once again, a racing incident, minor contact. And we are looking through the chat as we have a lot of messages. Daniel Crimson, the races are not broadcast on Wednesday, unfortunately. We are running it on, let's just say, a low power mode here at RCI for the next few weeks. We are, of course, just streaming Mondays, and I believe that's it for the week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shuey, in my ears, but I'm pretty sure it's just Mondays at the moment. Yep. Monday and Friday when it starts again, so 2 ends of the week, but unfortunately not Wednesday. But yeah, maybe in future, Kevin, we can do more broadcasts. It'd be great, because obviously everybody loves RCI TV. I love casting. I know Callum, this is kind of like your second full season of casting, should we say? And I think you've enjoyed yourself so far. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, massive fun. Obviously, quite fun to see these guys. Really interesting battles this race. I didn't expect there to be this much contact in a split one. Obviously, I'm harking my mind back to the end of last series we did on Monday nights with the combined Pro and Am split at Spa, and even that seemed a bit more well behaved than this. These guys are really, really going at it. It leaves some of these guys, especially some of these faster guys, Allen, Spence, Edverson, I think Verstraeten, Marquez, Pozniakov, all down the order now. So, got cars that maybe, we're looking at outside chances of top 10 finishes, maybe looking at sort of 6th, 7th, 8th, now clinging on to sort of 4th, 5th, 6th. So you're looking at Boardman, Downey and Shipston, all up there in the sort of top 5 to 10 range, and Budu up in the top 10, and a guy who was only split 2 in the entirety of the first Monday season that I managed to commentate, and is now up in not only in the top split but in the top 10, beating out regular RCI drivers such as Rachanov and Katlaoud and Stevenson and Daly, and really impressive drive here as we cut back to one of those guys who's had not the best night of Ed Varson. trying to make it past Cassiaro in the Porsche of, I believe it's the number 54 as I look to the side of the
Yeah.
scoreboard there. Edvarsen for the Danish team here, trying to find a way past this Porsche. Going to use that BMW power in a straight line. Maybe he's just going to hang on in the corners. Is he going to try and move down the outside, just filling the mirrors? Porsche then goes defensive into, I believe, turn 5, or sorry, turn 6, running down the hill into, I believe, 7 and 8. Is he going to try and move up through the hill? No, decides to follow through. That Porsche running a little bit wide there, though, not going to get the best run up the hill. And again, that flowing nature of this little bit of the track means he's probably not going to get the best run through 9, that fast right-hander. The beam are going to be right up the rear wing and the exhaust pipes of that Porsche. Are we going to see a dive bomb move? Nope, not a chance there from Dan. Deciding just again play the patience game. It's all a patience game. Obviously, with a 5-second penalty, he wants to get past his car as soon as possible so he can make up as much time in that last 4 minutes and 23 seconds. As we cut down to now, I believe probably another 3 or 4 laps to go, depending on when the lead driver crosses the line. But yeah, just wants to get past as soon as possible so he can pull that 5 seconds gap. He's got a good gap to Roscam in as the driver behind, right up the rear wing now, pulls to the inside here. He's the door of the car ahead and has made it past there. I think Cassiaro is going to let him through into turn 1, maybe going to look at a switchback line, but the Beamer racing the car well there. Really experienced driving there from Edvarsen on the overtake in through the first sector, just using that BMW power in a straight line. Probably a poor exit from the car in front there as we cut back to Pedro Marquez in the Lamborghini, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, but the only Lamborghini in the field.
Yeah, I believe so. The only
Yeah.
Lamborghini. So Marquez clearly loving the Lamborghini from last season. Thought, you know what, I'm going to take this for the GT3 race as well. So great to see, of course, a mixture of manufacturers. Even though we have a predominant field of Porsches, BMWs, R8s, and Ferraris, a couple of Mercedes, and of course one sole Lamborghini here. Of course, 34 drivers made it through to split 1. I think we began with 31 tonight. As Matthew Kingston Lee now takes his very late pit stop just under 30 window to go. So we will see him tumble down the order and see where he comes out. But of course, if, going back to what I was saying about RCI and commentating and, really enjoying it here, as we flick to a race replay of Will Stevenson, sending it to the inside of Carlos Calatayud. Of course, maybe a little bit of contact. I'm not sure if that's why Stewie picked this one up. But a fair move nonetheless. No drivers exiting the stage this time in the hairpin, and a clean move to be had as Will Stevenson claws onto that one towards the last corners. But of course, if you do enjoy RCI TV, and you think, I want to be a part of this, well, you can be. If you're in our Discord, head on over to our staff vacancies channel, where you'll currently see we are on the lookout for a couple of staff members, as our race leader provisionally, Malho, now comes down the lane, ready for his stop. Probably going to chuck a litre in, no point taking tyres at this point, and then get out as fast as he can. But of course, you can come and help us at RCI TV if that's something you want to do. We are on the lookout for a couple of commentators, a couple of broadcasters, and stewards. Apparently, according to Ryan Gill, we can never have enough stewards, as Nico Kumbu now comes into the pit lane, hits that nasty bump that we all know of, and slams on nice and early for the speed limiter. So hopefully no forced drive-throughs or stop and goes for Nico. But yeah, if you do want to drop on in, just head on over to the vacancies channel and DM the relevant staff member that is needed. I think it's Tom with a template of information. What about you? And yeah, we can look into it and see if you're a fit for RCI TV. And speaking of fits for RCI TV, I think one of our longest standing partners here, Fanatec, of course, needs no introduction. Needs no real explanation on who Fanatec are. Of course, one of the leading brands in dedicated sim racing hardware. And of course, here at RCI, we do have an affiliate link down in the description below. So if you are looking to pick up some new hardware, maybe you can do so from Fanatec. Or, I'm going to go into a double segment here, digitalmotorsports.com. Some of you may realize RCI has some new partners within digitalmotorsports.com. They, of course, offer a number of products and services, from virtual experiences, corporate events, and, of course, sim racing hardware on their website as well. Founded in 2018 by two enthusiastic motorsport fans, they had a vision to create a leading motorsport environment. And of course, check out the link in the description below to see what they can offer you today. And of course, down below as well, all of our social medias such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Of course, our main hangout for the majority of our events, communications, and such likes. But you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter to see what goes on behind the scenes. We, of course, had a very good result this weekend in our esports races. So congratulations on that one. One of which being the VCO Flex Stream cash split at the moment. So great to see the guys putting in a strong effort there, and strong efforts. Speaking of, Pozniakov is still trying to come back. Big wiggle through turn 7 behind Daly. Did very well to avoid the back of that Mercedes, but of course loses a lot of ground now to the white flag. Last lap has begun. We see our leader Kolot, number 14. We're looking at him on the board coming around now. Turn 4, kind of bottom right hand middle, I would say, where the triangle symbol is heading round. So he has begun his last lap. So these guys here are going to have one more stab at each other, and we now see Marquez heading up a racer, heading up the straighter. Cassiaro now wants to get involved into the hairpin of turn 11. We got our Danish driver Edvardsen behind, of course, with a 5-second penalty. Even if he does get past these guys, just going to tumble back down the grid as well. So maybe playing it very safe indeed. And we do have a Danish fan in the chat tonight of DRL Linger. Great to have you here. If this is your first time at RCI TV, and of course, welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. We hope to see you back in another event very soon, as the guys are now beginning to cross the line. I think some of them have thought it's the last lap, maybe diving to the pit wall, but it is, of course, not. Still the white flag shows, still one more lap to go, and Cassiaro is, he's going to ignore his mirrors at this point, Callum. It's evident Edvardsen is not going to make a move. He's got way too much gap behind him to Roskam, so he's not going to lose a space. So Edvardsen is clearly cemented himself in P20 as we fire forward. Pozniakov straight onto the back of Daly after that big wiggle through turn 7. But Kolot, your round 1 winner for the race eSport team number 14, Audi R8 Evo 2. Very great drive. And speaking of a 1-2, we have Malho coming through in P2. And I've just looked down the board to see who's in P3, so I'm ready for when they cross the line. It's Andy Boardman. How has Andy Boardman got that far up? And we see a bit of elbows out racing there. Daly on Pozniakov. Pozniakov maybe a little bit overly aggressive, but Andy Boardman for the Greased Weasel Racing Team, number 70. Hasn't got his usual number 69 tonight. Somebody else has stolen that one, unfortunately. But an Audi 1-2-3 at Barcelona. So you could possibly play the BOP card here and say Audi too strong.
So maybe we need some custom BOP in the Monday nights instead of just the esports 6 hour. The chaos that would cause.
Imagine.
Pro
esports bop in Monday nights. That could be an interesting thought for maybe Ryan Gill behind the scenes at RCI TV. But Chris Downing comes in 4th. Tom Shipston rounds in P5. P6, Joe Dorber. P7, Nika Kumpu. Linderup, P8. Shout out to one of the Danish drivers right there. Good performance from him. Voodoo in 9th. Rashinov got P10. Will Stevenson, 11. Carlos Calateud in P12. Pozniakov managed to figure his way back to P13, but I'm not sure that move on Daly was well received in the last lap. So obviously all these results are post race stewarding. They pick up along the way. We then have Marquez, a racer, Verstrater, Cassiaro, of course, Hauser, Cassiaro, Edvardsen on that one. Cassiaro, Edvardsen in P20. And then if we go down a little bit, Stewie, thank you very much. We then have Roskam, P21, Hauser, 22nd, Withall, 23rd, Stevens, 24th. Shout out to the RPMS boys if you're still in chat. Spence, rotten performance, of course, early on penalties, just never quite clawed back, P25. And Les Stevenson, unfortunately, takes the last card home tonight in P26. We have Bosch, Allen, Philmolter, Gadster, and Berner, who didn't finish. Berner being a very early retirement with lap 1 qualification for that one. We have, of course, Gadger with his rotten luck of drive-throughs, up and goes, called it a day. Philmolter, not sure what happened to him. Normally connection issues, I believe, with him. And then we have a stream of 15-second penalties that obviously drivers were never going to come back from. And that rounds out our round 1 tonight, Callum. It's been an explosive round 1, shall we say?
Yeah, A very, very busy round one. A note about Alan, actually, I believe I've just seen in one of our staff discords that he's actually signed out of the championship. So
Ooh.
aren't won't be seeing any more of the Jean Alesi car that had so much promise in qualifying in any of the other rounds. I believe, according to Stewie, he has signed out. So yeah, clearly not happy with how
That,
this Monday's gone and decided to practice elsewhere. Although
that's a big oof right there.
yeah,
Very unfortunate.
substantial.
Of course, Alan very strong in pre-qualifying as well. Topped the board with his stints, so not great indeed. And it's coming from the sign up notifications channel. One I don't check as often as I probably should. But speaking of checking, our last partner for tonight, of course, Go Setups. Um, again, needs no introduction if you're a regular at ACC. Formed to be one of the premium esports setup stores for ACC. Their primary aim being to create setups for all skill levels, obviously a safe as well. So hopefully they have something for you in their store. And they have, I didn't realize this till the other week, a Jaguar pack. So if anybody wants
Oh,
to be an absolute meme and try and be competitive, of course, the Jaguar is an option in their store. So head on over to the link in the description below to certainly check them out. As we see now some highlights from race one. Very tight start. Commentator's curse was put on it, unfortunately, by Callum on the opening cast. And yeah, it just kind of all went backwards from there, really, for the stewards. Busy night, maybe even a little few overtime hours tonight for them as well. Of course, post-race stewards penalties pending. But yeah, it's that time of the show when unfortunately we have to say goodbye. Of course, you can check out RCI and all of our links down below, including Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can find all the exciting stuff that goes on scenes. And of course, lastly, thank you to everybody at home who has, of course, endured another broadcast here at RCI TV with myself and Callum. Production values through the roof with mute buttons, casting stumbles, and butchering of names. But we offer any criticism. So my DMs are open. Want to PM me? Any criticisms, any pronunciations, like they do, I'm being told in the hockey leagues, on pronouncing names properly, then yeah, I'd love to hear it because it's all a learning curve here. That's what we're here for. But we hope you have found tonight entertaining. As I said earlier in the broadcast, we're of course running on a little bit of a lower power mode this week at RCI and the next few weeks. So Mondays, I think, will be the only thing being streamed for now until Fridays fire back up. So if you do, of course, want to stop back on by, hit the subscribe button. We are heading up those YouTube numbers, and 2023 is going to be a great year for RCI here, of course, with our Pro East series, and of course, a cheeky little giveaway during those broadcasts. So I'm going to stay around for that. From our partner, of course, Fanatec. But for tonight, Monday's European Masters Season 3, from myself, John Dalton, from Callum Kerwin in the box. Carlos, hello, very late joiner. We've got your name right nearly every time in the broadcast tonight, so watch it back. It's great to finally master it. But from myself, John Dalton, from Callum Kerwin alongside me, and from, of course, Stewie behind the cameras, and all the live stewards have sat in the box opposite us tonight. We bid you farewell. We hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And we hope you take good care of yourselves, and hopefully see you next time on RCI TV with Monday's European Masters.